The Seattle skyline burned crimson as Ethan Carter steered his Tesla into his Capitol Hill driveway, the city's pulse fading under dusk's chill. At 38, a tech analyst who could unravel code like a puzzle, Ethan carried a quiet intensity, his hazel eyes catching the porch light's flicker. He'd wrapped a Portland pitch early, a deal that could have funded a Bainbridge Island condo, but his mind wasn't on contracts. Lauren, his wife of 8 years, 36, a marketing lead with a knack for winning clients, had grown elusive. Her late nights, once tied to campaigns, now came with vague texts, her warmth replaced by a distant smile. He told her he'd be in Portland till dawn. His early return was a test of a trust starting to fray. The Craftsman house was dark, Lauren's Prius gone. Client dinner downtown. Her text read at 5:15 p.m., but Ethan's instincts churned. 2 weeks back, at a Belltown cafe, she tilted her phone away when a message pinged, her laugh too quick when he asked about her day. He'd blamed her firm's pressure, a tech startup launch, but doubt had taken root. Inside, he grabbed her coat, a sharp cedar cologne, not his sandalwood, clung to it. His thoughts snagged on Ryan Holt, 40, Lauren's boss and Ethan's old UW classmate. At a Fremont mixer, Ryan's gaze had lingered on Lauren, their banter too cozy. Ethan's jaw tightened. He wasn't impulsive, but patterns were forming. Upstairs, Lauren's phone sat on the nightstand, a rare slip for her. Ethan hesitated, fingers grazing the screen. 8 years ago, at their Whidbey Island vows, they'd set pins 0719, their first Pike Place date, her laugh bright against the market's hum. He typed it, expecting a lock. The screen lit up. A text from Ryan glowed. My loft tonight? Got your rose. Lauren's reply, 6:05 p.m. On my way. Ethan's chest burned, breath catching. He swiped. Photos of Lauren and Ryan at a rooftop bar, heads close. Another, hands brushing at Kerry Park, dated August. A third, her leaning into him at a hotel lounge, from June. 8 years, vows, dreams for Mia and Zoe, their girls, crumbled to ash. Ethan didn't yell or smash the phone. He sank onto the bed, springs creaking, and let anger harden into focus. His mind, wired to spot system flaws, mapped a plan, not chaos, but precision. Lauren had lied, and Ryan, who'd shared late-night study sessions, had betrayed him. The sting wasn't just love, it was trust, gutted by those closest. He brewed coffee, no bourbon, he needed clarity, and opened his laptop. Proof first, not confrontation. He searched. Seattle divorce lawyer, and found Karen Wells, rated high for sharp splits. He dialed, catching her at 9 p.m. Ethan Carter, he said, voice steady despite trembling hands. My wife's cheating. I need evidence. Karen was brisk. Washington's no fault, Ethan. Affairs don't sway custody much, but solid proof can shift assets, house, savings. Texts, locations. Ethan nodded to the dark. How do I stay legal? Karen replied. My PI, Cole Ramsey, ex-cop, clean. He can track her car, mirror her phone, bug her bag for audio. Want him? Ethan agreed fast. Start now. Karen promised Cole's call soon. Don't confront her, she warned. You lose the edge. Ethan exhaled, her words locking his resolve. Cole called at 9:30 p.m., voice rough, calm. Karen briefed me. I can tag her Prius with GPS by midnight, sync her phone by morning. Audio in her purse? Ethan pictured Lauren's voice, Ryan's murmurs caught raw. It felt invasive, but so was her deceit. Purse, she never checks it. Cole grunted. Good call. I'll text when it's done. Stay steady, Carter, she doesn't know. The line cut, and Ethan opened his tracking app, built for clients. Lauren's phone pinged at Ryan's Queen and Loft, 3.8 miles away, not downtown. The dot didn't move. His fingers itched to call her lie apart. Karen's warning held, surprise was his weapon. He dug deeper, pulling Lauren's cloud via a work script. Emails held banter. Loved your pitch vibe, drink soon? And a July hotel receipt, $280, no client tie. He zipped it to a hidden drive, each file a brick in his case. A calendar note hit hard. RH rooftop, 7 p.m. tomorrow. Ethan's pulse spiked. He'd use it. He texted Ryan from a burner, bought cash weeks ago. Tomorrow, your loft? As Lauren, it landed. Ryan's. Can't wait. Stum. Ethan packed, laptop, charger, for his Portland trip. A cover to buy space. Lauren slipped in at 12:50 a.m., heels soft on hardwood, keys clinking. Ethan lay still, eyes slitted, feigning sleep. Long dinner, she murmured, brushing his cheek, her breath sharp with nerves, not minty. Clients thrilled, she added, too quick. Ethan mumbled. Good work. Catching her phone glance before dimming it. She missed the purse, unaware of Cole's tracker, per his text. GPS live, audio in. Ethan's mind raced. Her phone tilt at the cafe, Ryan's, great team, at the mixer. 8 years back, she'd spun with him at Pike Place, his anchor. Ryan, too, had been tight, swapping code ideas. Now both had played him. He'd exposed them, no fists, just truth. He knew her secret, but not who else was watching. Subscribe for the twist. At sunrise, Lauren slipped from bed quietly, careful not to disturb Ethan. He kept his breathing even, eyes closed, body still, but his mind was already calculating. She rolled her suitcase toward the front door with practiced softness, her heels clicking faintly on the hardwood floor. See you Sunday, she whispered, though he didn't answer. The door clicked shut behind her at 6:42 a.m., and Ethan opened his eyes. He reached for his phone. Her Prius had already pulled onto I-5. At 7:08, the tracker pinged a halt, 2438th Avenue West, Ryan's loft, not a conference room in Portland. Ethan showered without urgency. He made a quiet breakfast, cleaned up, then opened his encrypted work drive. Lauren's audio stream came online as she entered Ryan's unit. Her voice filtered through faintly. That smells good. Is that cinnamon? French toast, Ryan answered. Didn't want you pitching on an empty stomach. Ethan paused the feed. Not because it hurt, it didn't anymore, but because it was data. He copied the file, timestamped it, and moved to the next task. That morning, Ethan sent 3 emails from a dummy domain, one to Lauren's company ID, requesting a review of campaign analytics that Ryan had manipulated, one to a client, posing as a concerned contractor, and one to a regulatory consultant about potential discrepancies in Holt Strategies' marketing disclosures. All were routed through layers of anonymization, with subtle variations. Just enough to look authentic. Just enough to ignite suspicion. He also scheduled 5 LinkedIn posts from his Portland account, tagging local restaurants and tech influencers in the area. He didn't want alibis, he wanted confusion. By noon, he met Mia Tate in Volunteer Park. She wore a navy trench, hair tucked beneath a mariner's cap. You're sure about this? She asked, sliding a flash drive across the bench between them. Ryan's numbers for last quarter. Compare them to the pitch decks he sent to Sedgwick Capital. You've seen both? I helped format them. They're not even close. Ethan pocketed the drive. Why are you helping me? She tilted her head. Because I'm tired of men like Ryan. And because Lauren isn't the only one he flirts with when no one's looking. Ethan didn't answer. He simply nodded and stood. His next stop was Pike Place. He took his time, weaving through vendors, pausing near a street performer. At exactly 2:17 p.m., he strolled across a frame as a tourist snapped a wide-angle photo. He even smiled faintly. That image would surface on Instagram later, geo-tagged and timestamped, giving him plausible presence. A breadcrumb, deliberately dropped. That night, back at the hotel, he loaded Mia's files and cross-referenced the discrepancies. Sedgwick Capital had been shown a 62% engagement increase. Internal numbers said 34%. That wasn't optimism, it was fabrication. Ethan archived everything. Then, using a new alias, he submitted a whistleblower report through the SEC's online portal, attaching both versions of the decks and a brief summary of the financial implications. At 10:45 p.m., Lauren called. Didn't hear from you all day. Everything okay? Ethan softened his tone. Just slammed. Battery died halfway through the pitch, then I got pulled into a last-minute dinner. You sound tired. Long day. Well, she offered, voice light. I'll make it up to you when I get back. Looking forward to it. He hung up and stared at the screen, where a transcription from earlier scrolled across. If we land Sedgwick, I'll owe you more than wine, Lauren had said to Ryan. Then let's hope it goes through, Ryan had replied. Ethan copied the line into a file titled Final Phase. He didn't sleep. He reviewed the recordings twice, flagged 3 audio clips with keywords, and synced them to a cloud archive accessible only by his lawyer. He ran backups, encrypted everything. The plan was building. Not revenge. Not rage. Just dismantling. At sunrise, Lauren texted. Presentation went great. Heading out for a run. Love you. The GPS pinged stationary at Ryan's loft. No movement. Ethan closed the app and opened his notepad. Tomorrow would begin the next layer. A new email, this time forged to look like it came from Lauren's domain, linking Ryan to the false data. Nothing inflammatory, just enough to raise eyebrows. It wouldn't take much. Ethan knew the power of quiet nudges. Of reputations cracking under pressure. Comment if you caught Mia's real motive. She's not just helping, for her, this is personal. Tomorrow, the vanishing begins. Ethan's digital shadow deepened. By Monday morning, Holt Strategies' legal counsel had forwarded an internal audit memo, anxious, reactive. Mia had tipped him. They're scrambling. Ryan's locked in meetings. Lauren looks shaken. She didn't elaborate. She didn't have to. Ethan moved into phase 3. He created a sequence of emails between Lauren and Ryan, using deep fake headers and mirrored phrasing from actual correspondence. They discussed campaign metrics, cash incentives, and non-disclosed adjustments. Nothing explicit, but every line danced on the edge of implication. He sent the thread to a freelance compliance analyst in Los Angeles, someone who posted often on LinkedIn about corporate fraud. Anonymous tip. No trace. It would look like it came from inside. Lauren's location stayed consistent. Ryan's loft, then her office, then back again. Ethan watched the dots move, intersect, stall. The audio picked up laughter. Clinking glasses. A whispered, "Next week, Palm Springs?" Her voice. His reply. Booked it already. He didn't feel rage. Only acceleration. By Wednesday, a friend at Ethan's firm forwarded a company-wide email from Holt Strategies. Effective immediately, all client communications must be reviewed by legal prior to submission. This is non-negotiable. Panic protocol. Ethan knew the rhythm. Internal lockdown meant external suspicion had begun to bloom. He picked up a pre-scheduled envelope from a P.O. box that afternoon, copies of hotel receipts, campaign logs, and 2 images. Lauren and Ryan at a rooftop bar, Ryan's hand resting a fraction too long on her lower back. Not scandalous. Just wrong. He filed them. That night, Mia called from a blocked number. They're holding a board meeting tomorrow. Legal says someone's feeding outside parties. Ryan's paranoid. Ethan replied. He should be. She hesitated. I'm in danger if this backfires. You won't be named, Ethan said. And you'll have leverage if it goes public. Stay clean. A pause. You ever wonder what Lauren's thinking? Ethan exhaled slowly. No. I used to. At home, he sat in the darkened kitchen, the only light from the fridge. A bottle of sparkling water hissed open. His daughter slept down the hall. The walls felt too thin. Too shared. He opened a document labeled Exit Playbook. The first line read, "Disappear without dying." The next day, he left his phone in a rideshare headed to Olympia. In the back seat of another car, he changed into joggers and a windbreaker. At Pike Place, he left a backpack under a bench. Inside, a wallet with duplicate ID, staged personal items, and a folded hoodie Lauren once bought him in Leavenworth. His next move was quiet. A visit to Detective Sarah Klein's precinct. He didn't enter. He just observed the entrance, noting cameras, habits, rhythms. He'd spoken with her years ago during a data breach investigation. She was sharp. By Friday, she'd hear about his disappearance. That was intentional. At 5:47 p.m., Lauren texted, "Dinner tomorrow? Kids miss you." Ethan stared at the screen. She hadn't asked where he was. Just assumed he'd answer. He didn't. He'd already copied her calendar. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., she was due at a wellness reset in Bellevue. But her GPS would ping different. He'd mirrored her phone's geolocation and set it to drift toward Whidbey Island, as if she'd taken a ferry. That night, Ethan walked to an old colleague's condo in Ballard. Alex. Quiet. Loyal. A couch and blackout curtains. No questions asked? You need to stay off-grid? Alex asked. 3 days. Got it. He turned off every personal device. Only the secure laptop stayed on, pinging each movement Lauren made. She didn't text again. She thought she was planning a future. He was drafting an ending. And somewhere, far below the digital noise, a seed of doubt was beginning to root in her silence. Saturday morning broke gray and drizzling. Lauren's phone still showed motion toward Whidbey Island, the fake GPS signal pulsing faithfully along the ferry route. In reality, her Prius sat untouched outside Ryan's Queen and Loft. Ethan sipped bitter coffee from a chipped mug in Alex's kitchen, eyes fixed on his screen. The timing had to be perfect. Disappearances weren't about vanishing, they were about misdirection. He reviewed the final threads, a series of emails between Ethan Carter and an invented Singapore client, discussing a private security platform that could be adapted for offshore use. Vague enough to hint at something illicit. Ethan had placed them on his work computer's hard drive, then emailed the zip file to himself through Lauren's IP. When the firm's cybersecurity audit ran next week, the metadata would place Ethan in the middle of a quiet scandal. That would slow the police. Maybe even distract Lauren. He left the condo around 1:15 p.m., hood up, sunglasses tight. At Pike Place, he crossed the same spot as last week's Instagram photo, this time at a slower pace, near a group of street musicians. A teenage tourist snapped a panoramic shot. Another breadcrumb. Then he circled to the alley, removed the hoodie, stuffed it in the garbage bin behind a seafood stall, and walked 5 blocks before calling a lift from a borrowed phone. By sunset, he was in Kirkland, logging into the audio archive. Lauren's voice came in sharp. "Ryan, I think he knows something." Ryan's voice was clipped. "He doesn't. He's too nice. He's not dumb. He's not like us." The silence that followed rang loud. Ethan exhaled slowly, setting his jaw. They weren't wrong. They just didn't know what "not like us" really meant. That night, the kids stayed at Lauren's sister's place. A text from Lauren. "Mia said you're not in Portland. Where are you?" "Ethan?" He ignored it. Instead, he opened his secure folder and began composing a resignation email for Monday. It would appear as if he'd run. A man under stress, unraveling under personal collapse. Ethan Carter vanished. But the truth was cleaner. More surgical. On Sunday morning, Detective Sarah Klein received an anonymous tip through the department's cold case portal. Check Ethan Carter's home office. Files related to Holt Strategies and undisclosed client activity. No sender. No IP trail. But enough to raise questions. Lauren returned home that afternoon. Her text shifted in tone. "Kids are asking. Ethan, this isn't like you. Are you okay? Please." Then silence. For hours later. "I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. Just come home." Ethan sat in Alex's darkened living room, watching her words appear and stop. He didn't reply. Instead, he played the audio again. "He's not like us." By Monday morning, Lauren's voicemail to Karen Wells, Ethan's attorney, was panicked. He's missing. Please. I don't know who else to call. Karen, of course, already knew. And somewhere deep inside Lauren, the certainty she'd once worn like perfume was beginning to evaporate. The vanishing had begun. And it was perfect. Detective Sarah Klein leaned back in her chair, the folder on her desk still warm from the printer. Ethan Carter, age 38, no criminal record, no prior reports of mental distress. The anonymous tip had arrived just after sunrise, prompting her to pull the case before it went to missing persons. Something felt off. Too neat. Too timed. By noon, she'd interviewed Lauren at the Carter home. Lauren's eyes were red, but no tears fell. He never came back from Portland, she said, voice thin. He missed Zoe's dance recital. He would never. Sarah watched her closely. Lauren clasped her hands too tightly, and her answers came rehearsed. Has he ever vanished before? Never. He's predictable. Maybe too predictable. Any arguments recently? No. Just stress. Work. Usual stuff. But when Sarah asked about his phone or laptop, Lauren stumbled. His laptop wasn't in the house. Maybe he took it. I don't know. That lie sat heavily in Sarah's mind. Later, she requested a forensic sweep of Ethan's home network. Something was wrong with the timestamps on his outbound emails. 2 messages sent after he was supposedly in Portland had originated from their Seattle IP. She requested device logs and metadata. It would take a day, maybe 2. But she already had a feeling Ethan Carter wasn't missing. He was hidden. Meanwhile, Lauren sat in her car in a Whole Foods parking lot, phone in her lap, watching the location tracker Ethan had set up for family safety. His last ping was from Pike Place. The signal had gone dead 48 hours ago. She hadn't told the police about the tracker. Ryan had told her not to. It'll make you look guilty, he'd said, pacing his loft, shirtless, agitated. They'll wonder why you were watching him. But it was Mia who unsettled her most. At the office, she'd walked past Lauren with unreadable eyes. Cool. Clinical. Not cruel, but colder than before. And that morning, Lauren had found a note on her desk. A single line typed and unsigned. You're not the only one he watched. Ethan, miles away, saw the message too. He'd planted it through Mia 2 days earlier. Psychological disruption. Keep Lauren off balance. He knew her rhythm, how she'd unravel in silence. She was beginning to twitch now. Reaching out to people she once kept out. Tuesday brought the first official media notice. Local tech analysts reported missing after business trip. Small headline, digital only, but the ripples began. Ryan called Lauren twice, both times short, sharp. They'll look into our emails. I've wiped everything. What about the hotel? No records under our names. He paused. What if he's setting us up? He wouldn't. But she didn't sound convinced. That night, Mia called Ethan using a secure line. Ryan tried to access my workstation today. I think he suspects I know something. Ethan spoke calmly. Let him. The closer he gets, the more reckless he'll be. Did you leave the second envelope? This morning. His desk drawer. Perfect. Inside that envelope was a copy of the falsified pitch deck, identical to the one shown to clients, highlighted in red. A whisper of threat. No note. No demand. Just implication. Back in Ballard, Ethan watched a new video upload from a food blogger at Pike Place. He appeared faintly in the background, in the same windbreaker. Another breadcrumb. Not proof of life. Just shadow. He wasn't going to return. Not yet. Not until every thread pulled tight enough to snap. And Lauren, alone in their Craftsman kitchen, stared at her phone long past midnight. Her hands trembled as she deleted Ryan's last message. Asterisk, he's doing something. I can feel it. Asterisk. She didn't reply. Thursday morning, the weather broke into sudden rain, soaking downtown in that impatient way Seattle sometimes had. Cold, brisk, no warning. Detective Klein stood under the overhang outside Holt Strategies, waiting for Ryan Holt's assistant to buzz her up. She hadn't made an appointment. That was deliberate. She wanted to see who panicked first. Ryan answered the glass conference door himself. His shirt was perfectly pressed, but his eyes flicked just a second too long to the manila folder in her hands. "Detective," he said smoothly. "This about Ethan?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked past him into the boardroom, where two marketing execs pretended not to listen. "Mind if I ask you a few questions?" she said. He gestured politely. "Of course." Inside, she laid out the basics: Ethan's disappearance, the inconsistencies in his travel logs, and the emails sent from Seattle during his alleged Portland stay. "You were close, I hear." Ryan's jaw ticked. "We worked together. He was married to Lauren, my employee. We knew each other socially. More than socially, by some accounts." She watched him flinch. "Look, Lauren and I, we had a connection. But Ethan's disappearance has nothing to do with us." She tilted her head. "Where were you Saturday night?" "At home. Alone." "Anyone verify that?" A pause. "No." She nodded. "We're reviewing digital communications. If there's anything we should know before that happens, now's the time." He said nothing. But he shifted, like a man remembering a rope around his neck. Lauren, meanwhile, sat in her parked Prius near Green Lake, staring at the cracked screen of Ethan's old iPad she'd found in a closet. Somehow, despite the passcode reset, it had auto-synced his cloud. A folder called Echo appeared, protected by a password. She tried birthdays. Nothing worked. Then she tried *0719*. The folder opened. Inside were logs. Audio recordings. One from 2 weeks ago, her voice, faint and laughing, recorded in Ryan's loft. "He'd never look here. It's perfect." Ryan's voice. "Then we're fine. He's harmless." Another clip, closer. "Let's not talk about Ethan tonight." Her breath caught. She shut the iPad. Then reopened it. Clicked on the next file. Another conversation. Then another. Timestamped. Archived. He'd been listening the whole time. At that moment, Mia knocked lightly on Lauren's window. She startled, opening the door. "We need to talk," Mia said. "About Ethan. You've been helping him," Lauren accused. Mia's face didn't change. "He didn't ask me to. Not at first. But Ryan lied to me. About promotions. About everything. And when I figured out he was manipulating both of us, I chose a side." Lauren looked down. "Why now?" "Because there's more," Mia said. "He didn't just leave. He made sure the world would see why." She handed Lauren a flash drive. "This is going to the SEC tomorrow. I figured you should know what's coming. If you have anything to say, say it now. He might still be listening." Lauren stared at the small plastic device. She looked smaller than she had days ago. The arrogance had slipped, leaving only questions. Later that evening, Sarah Klein sat at her desk, frowning at a new report. Ethan Carter's burner phone had just pinged once, briefly, from a cell tower near Ballard. Too short to trace, but deliberate. She turned to her notes. He was slipping clues. For someone who didn't want to be found, Ethan was remarkably easy to follow, if you looked in the right places. She underlined the word that now kept surfacing in every interview, in every trace of digital footprint. Intentional. Every move he made. Every absence. This wasn't a disappearance. This was a setup. And they were walking right into it. Courtroom 5C of King County Superior was packed tighter than usual for a Thursday morning. The word had spread quietly but fast that today's fraud hearing against Ryan Holt might include new evidence. What no one expected was the moment the courtroom screens blinked to life mid-session, showing the face of a man no one had seen in over 2 weeks. Ethan Carter. Not a photograph. A live feed. He sat in a plain room, dressed in a collared shirt, expression calm, composed. "Your Honor." His voice came through the speakers, crisp and deliberate. I am very much alive, and I'd like the court to hear what I have to say. The judge, startled but composed, adjusted her glasses. Mr. Carter, you understand you're appearing without formal notice or counsel? Ethan nodded. Yes, ma'am. I'll make this quick. On cue, his attorney, Karen Wells, stood in the back row, lifting a document. We're filing an emergency declaration. Mr. Carter has submitted evidence relevant to this proceeding and his own presumed disappearance. Gasps rippled through the room. At the defense table, Ryan froze, his lips parted slightly. Lauren, seated 3 rows back, visibly paled. Mia, stone-faced, didn't blink. Ethan's video feed shifted, replaced by a screen-recorded walkthrough. 2 months ago, I discovered my wife and Ryan Holt were engaged in a personal relationship that coincided with irregularities in campaign reporting within Holt Strategies. At first, I documented their affair for personal clarity. What I found, however, led me elsewhere. Slide after slide appeared, 2 pitch decks side by side, one internal, one sent to investors. Highlighted discrepancies. Redacted memos. Email headers forged from Lauren's credentials but traced back to Ryan's machine. Then, finally, a short audio clip. Ryan, send the doctored version. No one cross-checks this deep. Lauren, and if they do? Ryan, then we blame Ethan. He's spiraling already. The silence that followed was absolute. Ethan's face returned to the screen. I faked my disappearance because the only way to expose both the betrayal and the fraud was to remove myself from the equation. I couldn't be the grieving husband and the credible whistleblower at the same time. I had to become the ghost. The judge, visibly rattled, cleared her throat. We'll take a 10-minute recess. All parties are to remain in the courtroom. In the hallway, reporters surged to their phones. Inside, Ryan stared forward, motionless. Lauren's hands shook in her lap. Mia, for the first time, allowed herself a faint, almost imperceptible smile. Back at her office, Detective Sarah Klein watched the live stream from her desk, eyebrows raised. She'd suspected Ethan was hiding in plain sight, but this level of orchestration impressed even her. She closed her notepad slowly, muttering to no one. Well played. When the court resumed, Lauren was called forward. Her lawyer tried to intercede, but the judge raised a hand. Ms. Carter, you've heard the evidence. Do you contest any of Mr. Carter's claims? Lauren's voice was hoarse. I don't know what to say. The judge pressed. Do you deny any of it? She looked down. No. And just like that, the gavel came down on the first wave. Ethan's silence had been his sharpest weapon. And now that he was speaking, the damage would spread fast. But in the corner, Mia was already staring at her phone. A new email had landed. From an old address. The subject line read, You're done. It wasn't signed by Ethan. It was from someone else entirely. Vanessa. The email's text was simple. Your part is finished. Mine begins. Mia's breath caught in her throat as she read the message again. Vanessa. Her sister. The name hadn't passed her lips in over a year. Not since the last time they'd spoken, an argument about ethics, money, and Ryan Holt. Outside the courthouse, the storm of reporters began to swell. Lauren exited under a coat, eyes down, her attorney shielding her from flashes. Ryan stayed inside, visibly sweating beneath his crisp blazer, now cornered by his legal team. But Mia didn't move. She stayed seated, replaying in her mind the times Vanessa had warned her, asterisk. You can't straddle the line forever. Asterisk. Back in Ballard, Ethan saw the story break online. His face in the thumbnail beside a headline that read, Missing tech analyst unmasks affair, corporate fraud and court bombshell. The footage of his live feed was already viral. He turned off the news and dialed Karen. We'll file tomorrow, she said without hello. I've got the board's attention now. They're distancing from Holt as we speak. What about Lauren? He asked. She's retaining separate counsel. No counters yet. But I don't think she expected the video. Ethan nodded. Good. And then, almost as an afterthought, he said, Mia might be in trouble. At that exact moment, Mia stepped out of the courthouse and into a black sedan parked at the curb. Vanessa was in the back seat. Older by 3 years, with the same sharp cheekbones but none of Mia's restraint, Vanessa had always been the louder one. The reckless one. And years ago, the one who almost brought down an ad agency when she found out its CEO, Ryan Holt, was skimming money through front-loaded vendor contracts. But the case had been buried. Witnesses silenced. Vanessa was paid to leave quietly. Now she was back. "You gave Ethan everything," Vanessa said, voice low, eyes scanning Mia's face. "Almost everything," Mia replied. "Don't play dumb. I know you pulled the SEC deck from my archive." Mia didn't deny it. "He needed something with teeth. Yours had it." Vanessa smiled. "And now Ryan's drowning. You think I'm here to finish him? You're not?" "No. I'm here to burn the rest of the system he built. I've got a flash drive full of vendors, bank wires, client bribes. And Ethan? He's just a matchstick." Mia leaned back. "So this isn't revenge for me. You were never the point," Vanessa said. "But if you want out, do it now. When this drops, nobody gets to stay clean." Elsewhere in Queen Anne, Lauren sat alone in her kitchen, the silence so thick it pressed against her ribs. Zoe was at her aunt's. Mia wasn't answering texts. Her inbox was a flood of press inquiries, internal HR flags, and 2 board emails marked urgent. And then she saw it, the first social media post. A clip from Ethan's live feed. She watched herself mentioned by name. Her hands trembled, and for the first time since this began, she whispered, "What have I done?" She tried to call Ethan. It went to voicemail. "Ethan," she said, voice cracking, "I know there's no fixing this. But I didn't know it would go this far." She paused. "I didn't think you'd be the one to disappear first." Back in Ballard, Ethan didn't listen to the message. He sat instead at his laptop, a note open in front of him. No salutation. No signature. Just a sentence forming carefully across the screen. "You'll rebuild. But not with me. Asterisk asterisk." Lauren didn't leave the house all weekend. Her name was no longer buried in speculation. It was threaded through think pieces, LinkedIn posts, even legal blogs. Not just the wife anymore. She was now a cooperating figure in a corporate scandal, her silence on internal fraud labeled as complicity. A local reporter had called her the soft link between deception and downfall. She didn't contest it. By Monday morning, her inbox had been frozen by HR. A message from legal confirmed indefinite unpaid suspension pending internal investigation. Her calendar cleared itself. Meetings vanished. The firm she had helped build with Ryan from a scrappy startup now wiped her from its system in under 24 hours. She walked through the house in silence. Ethan's favorite coffee mug still hung by the sink. The drawer where he kept his watch was empty. Her closet had lost 2 coats. No drama, no destruction, just subtraction. She hadn't noticed until now how much space he had once filled, simply by existing. She sat on the edge of their bed, looking out at the street. At nothing. She picked up her phone and opened their text thread. The last message from him. "Good work." It had been a lie. Ethan, meanwhile, was 300 miles away in a rented 2-bedroom in Boise, Idaho. Quiet city. Clean corners. Enough tech firms for freelance work, none big enough to care about Holt's ghost. His daughters would be fine. He'd opened a trust in their names, transferring his share of the Seattle house into it. When they turned 18, it would be theirs. Nothing for Lauren. That was intentional. He walked to a nearby coffee shop, his routine now stripped to its essentials: email, freelance audits, groceries, walks. Clean. Forgettable. The kind of life you choose when your last one burns behind you. But some things lingered. At noon, Detective Sarah Klein called. "We closed your file. You're not officially listed as missing anymore." "Thanks," Ethan replied. "Thought I should tell you, Ryan's counsel reached out. He's negotiating a plea. Fraud, false reporting. No jail if he cooperates. And Lauren? Quiet. She's distancing. The board might sue her, but she's not fighting back. Ethan didn't reply. Later that day, he mailed one final envelope. Handwritten. No return address. No date. Just a plain note, folded neatly. Lauren received it Thursday morning. She opened it slowly, seated on their back porch in a robe. It wasn't venomous. No rage. No threat. Just 8 words, written in Ethan's steady hand. I disappeared first. You just didn't see it. 2 months passed. Seattle moved on. Holt Strategies was swallowed by an acquisition, rebranded, its leadership quietly dismantled. Ryan Holt took a plea deal, 2 years probation, a federal fine, and a ruined reputation. His name, once a fixture on industry panels and investor decks, became synonymous with breach of trust. He resurfaced later under a pseudonym, whispering his skills into freelance contracts. But no firm in the city touched him publicly again. Lauren stayed. She didn't sell the house. She couldn't. Ethan had left it under her feet but out of her hands. The mortgage remained under his name, utilities auto-paid from a trust he'd never disclosed. She was a guest in her own life now, walking through familiar halls with unfamiliar rules. She picked up consulting work eventually. Quiet roles. Short-term contracts. Nobody asked about the scandal directly, but she could feel it in their eyes. You're that Lauren. Some wanted gossip. Others wanted distance. But she took the work, humbly, without protest. She'd always been good at salvaging narratives. This time, she started with her own. Her public posts turned sparse. She deleted Instagram. Changed her LinkedIn photo to something neutral, just a smile without intent. She started mentoring marketing students at a local nonprofit twice a week. Not out of penance, she told herself. But because when young people asked questions, they weren't trying to catch her, they genuinely wanted to learn. That helped her breathe. One Tuesday evening, after class, she passed by a downtown bookstore. A window display featured a new hardcover, System Ghosts, Modern Corporate Sabotage. She stepped closer. There, on the back flap, was Ethan's name, credited as a consultant under his Boise firm. She smiled faintly. Not bitterly. Not sadly. Just, finally, with understanding. Zoe and Mia visited on alternating weekends. Ethan called them regularly, but he never called Lauren. Not once. The space between them remained intact. Not cold. Just final. In Boise, Ethan sat on the porch of his rented house, notebook in hand. He still worked in code, but rarely now for others. He took long walks. He cooked. He read. His girls were doing well. That was enough. He had no desire to look back. No satisfaction in watching what fell. Just silence, steady and wide. A kind of peace he hadn't expected, but recognized instantly when it arrived. And somewhere in Seattle, Lauren read that letter one last time, folded it carefully, and placed it in the drawer beside her bed. She didn't cry. She didn't call. She just whispered to herself. He never left. I just stopped seeing him. Don't let this story end here. Subscribe now, hit that like, and tap the bell to stay locked in for every twist. Comment below, caught the hidden clue? Share with your crew and brace for the next bombshell. It's gonna hit deep, stay ready.